not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box? Cells.
Cells.
Interlinked.
Interlinked.
What's it like to hold the hand of someone you love? Interlinked.
Interlinked.
Within cells interlinked.
Within cells interlinked.
Dreadfully.
Dreadfully.
What's it like to be filled with dread? Dreadfully.
Dreadfully.
Do you like being separated from other people? Distinct.
Distinct.
Dreadfully distinct.
Dreadfully distinct against the
A
dark.
tall white fountain played.
A tall white fountain played.
You're not even close to baseline.
59 seconds of logos, which is a red flag that this movie don't give a fuck about any plans I have this afternoon.
Who goes to see a movie and has plans after? As you're demonstrating, most people don't Google the runtime of films, so usually going to see a movie is the plan for the day, and watching films is literally your job.
Reading. Also, it's Remindo reading, for those who never saw or saw but forgot the first movie, which is a lot of people, since this sequel is like 30 years late.
Another pointing things out that are happening on the screen sin. Thanks. Also, you're sinning something that you agree is necessary for all those people that didn't see the original Blade Runner or just need a bit of refreshing.
Oh wow, movie opens on a human eye opening cliche. Awesome, such original, so creativity.
Considering the original film started that cliche, I'd have to say, yeah, such original, so creativity.
In answer to the question, how much fog is too much fog, movie dares to answer, there is no such thing as too much fog.
Jeremy hates art.
I'm a farmer.
What do you farm?
Darkness from the looks of this kitchen.
Hi, Jeremy. I just had a quick question. How the f*** do you farm darkness?
I prefer to keep an empty stomach until the hard part of the day is done.
What if the hard part of the day happens at night? Do you go all damn day without eating? Doesn't that, suck?
Obviously not for him, as that's clearly his preference. That's like asking a vegan anything about meat.
My little girl's name is Snow.
Okay, it's not like asking a vegan about anything. Just don't ever do that.
Really strong character or really shitty walls? You make the call.
Why not both?
Also, I guess it's a requirement that a Blade Runner movie has to open with a scene of a character crashing through a wall.
Interesting that you would make that astute observation when you completely ignored the original Blade Runner starting the movie opening with an eye thing.
Because you've never seen a miracle.
On the contrary, dog, I've seen Miracle 15 times or more. Oh wait, you didn't mean the movie, did you? And you weren't talking to me.
That's not a sin for the movie. That's you making an obscure joke that people would then have to go to your comment section in order to understand.
It's 2049, but guns are still firing regular bullets. Where are the phasers and laser guns? And we've cracked the code for AI and naked chick billboard holograms, but where are the photon torpedoes?
I won't get into the specifics of why handheld photon torpedoes or laser guns would be unfeasible only 31 years into our future, but this is a continuation of the original Blade Runner, which was 1982's version of 2019, which was 37 years into their future, and that film didn't have laser guns, so why do you all of a sudden require them now?
One moment, man.
Okay, I buy all the events that led up to the discovery of Rachel's remains, but the odds that there happens to be a flower placed on the spot and he catches it right before he's supposed to be going back to base are astronomical, and I'm not going to let that go unmentioned.
In the scene where Kay kills Sapper, if you pay close attention, which for you is like asking a shark not to bite, you can faintly make out something yellowish in this aquarium. The script confirms that this is cowslip and that Sapper was cultivating this flower. This means that Sapper placed this flower here to mark the spot where Rachel was buried. Now, take this frame. I want you to blur your eyes and look at any corner of this frame. Unless you have a form of color blindness, are you seriously suggesting that you don't see a splash of color against the drab background?
A minute and a half of Kay flying his ship back to base in the rain.
Fuck you, Jeremy. This scene was magnificent cinematography.
Good job.
Casual racist police officer is casually racist.
I don't think that was casual.
Caution. Keep clear.
Talk about your overkill. These street sweepers are pretty damn hard to miss as it is, so I'm wondering if the scrolling text and the megaphone is really necessary.
Considering that there still exists a thing called old people, I'd go out on a limb and say, yeah, it's pretty much necessary.
Also, again, 2049, but we're still doing the side-scrolling red dot matrix text thing on street cleaners, whatever the f*** this large vehicle is. What caused the stagnation in digital marquee advancement?
Also, as I mentioned earlier, this is 1982's version of the future. Keeping that aesthetic was obviously a very important point of emphasis.
Movie goes hard on this replicant racism theme in the beginning, only to completely lose that thread over the rest of the runtime.
That's 100% incorrect. Kay being a replicant is a major cause of the conflict of this film, not to mention this speech from Robin Wright.
The world is built on a wall that separates kind. Tell either side there's no wall, you bought a war. It is my job to keep order. That's what we do here, we keep order.
I realize it's all fake, but she just said she was trying a new recipe, then served him steak, fries, and salad, none of which require a recipe.
Steak doesn't require a recipe? Are we now stating that seasonings and marinade aren't recipes? Remind me to decline invitations to your house for steak.
Whoa, I know this is some next level technology. How the f would that be possible?
It's called science fiction, emphasis on the fiction bit. It could just be a self-igniting cigarette or an e-cig. Who cares?
Wait, if there's one thing this movie makes abundantly clear about Joy, it's that she's ambient and can't physically touch Kay. So how are these water drops landing on her skin?
Do you remember this scene? Yeah, this is just her program simulating water droplets, the same way she changes clothes. Or do you really think that whatever is on your phone's background is really on the screen?
I'm so happy when I'm with you.
Has the movie even started yet? I know we've seen 22 minutes of it, but it all still feels like not main plot stuff.
It's called world building, Jeremy. Kind of requisite for good science fiction.
Damn, Kay just had his replica cock blocked.
I think the fact that she's an intangible hologram kind of,
Also, this brings up a good question. Outside of the obvious sex bots, why give replicants sex organs at all? I know eventually Wallace wants them to be able to breathe, but before this point they were built for pure subservience and slavery. Wouldn't having a sex drive be counterintuitive? As we've noted many times, the power of boners is often greater than the power of community service.
Forget what I said last time. Jeremy says boner. Also, Kay is a newer Nexus 9 model created by Wallace, which would explain why he has a sex drive.
He was a combat medic. Maybe he tried to save her and he just couldn't.
He didn't seem like the saving type.
Movie plays the pronoun game with Deckard, even though his reveal was the most promoted part of this movie.
You wanted to squeeze in one of your running gags so bad that you missed the fact that they're referring to Sapper Morton, not Deckard.
A sentimental skin job.
As a first-time viewer of this movie, this lingo is frustrating as hell. Skin job could easily be human slang for androids, or android slang for humans.
Wait, so you're just going to pretend like this isn't a case of the racism that you said the movie would never refer back to?
This is an orgy of evidence that this is the office of a high-ranking official that doesn't have time for your bullshit.
This is actually an orgy of evidence that you gloss over yet another scene proving your "this movie never revisits the racism" line is bullshit.
You know, I don't see any ads for Pepsi or Mountain Dew or Fresca. Did Coca-Cola finally dominate the cola wars? Is it the only option now, like Taco Bell and Demolition Man?
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the movie cliche. There. I said the whole line for once. Now are you happy?
When the lights came back, we were wiped clean. Photos, files, every bit of data, gone. Bank records too.
Kay said the blackout was before his time, not that he didn't know anything about it. Mr. Only saying this for the viewer's benefit.
Hey, Mr. Know-It-All. If you were smart, you'd realize that the file clerk is referring to the erasure of records of Tyrell Corporation, leading to the creation of Wallace Corporation, something Kay definitely would not have knowledge of, considering he was created 14 years after that blackout.
All our memory bearings from the time, they were all damaged in the blackout.
Damn, pen-sieve technology has come a long way since Harry Potter's time.
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference.
Okay, so he's blind, but he can use the hovering sex toy drone cameras and a chip thing plugged into his head to see. Fine. Why the f does he ever not do this? Why ever be blind if you don't have to be?
Agreed.
Just because I want to pay for sex doesn't mean I want to do it in the storefront display window.
I don't know. The glazed over windows and barely perceptible human silhouettes kinda makes it hot.
In the future, all erogenous zones will be marked with giant asterisks.
Haha, Jeremy doesn't know women also consider their necks an erogenous zone. My condolences, Mrs. Sins.
Maybe he's just that good of a detective, but after sitting on the couch thinking for a bit, the piano was literally the first thing he touched, and now he's found more evidence.
You just stated that he'd been sitting there for a little while, and in this scene you can clearly see that one of the keys is noticeably lower than the others. If he's any kind of detective worth his salt, I'd expect him to, demand that he investigate that piano.
All I remember is a group of boys trying to take it away from me. So I run.
So now let's cut to super specific flashback footage of this event he barely remembers.
They make it painfully clear that Kay dreams about this event all the time, and from what we later learn about this memory, it absolutely has to be super specific. Do you even movie?
What happens if I finish that?
Shouldn't I get back to work, madam?
Robin Wright character nearly Kevin Spacey's a robot cop.
This is still pretty funny.
Why the hell is there blood out here in the hall? Coco was killed in the DNA vault and was instantly incapacitated. Was someone else murdered during the bone burglary and they didn't feel the need to mention it?
Regardless of what people think, these are the kinds of observations that make me love CinemaSins. I remember watching this in the theater with a friend and telling him, they're going to send this. He replied,
Ding! Says the girl died there. Genetic disorder. Galatian syndrome.
She has a syndrome named after a book of the Bible? Was it a complacency cold? Sinful sickness? False idol flu?
See the kinds of things we, the fans of CinemaSins, subject ourselves to? Yep.
Trash dumping spaceships borrow the sad future imagery from Wall-E pretty damn hard.
Jeremy makes a pop culture
I know Kay's a super duper replicant and all, so I'm not sinning the fact that he survives this, but the car should be in f***ing pieces, or at the very least non-functional.
It's interesting that you make the assumption that the replicant is more crash resistant than the personal vehicle designed to fly. Not to mention this is the LAPD's squad car, which is sure to be more resistant to crashing.
Malfunctioning digital girlfriend. Damn it, I thought I was never gonna have to say that phrase again.
Jeremy points out things happening on the screen cliche combined with a pop culture reference. That's a twofer.
Fire again.
Love Ex Machina. Seriously, I know she's been tracking Kay's movements, but how do they have this many missiles at the ready?
So I know I give you shit for not understanding what Ex Machina means, but this is a seriously egregious usage of the phrase. This is not an unwinnable situation for Kay. He just took out 4 assailants with minimal effort after being in a car crash. Also, seriously? You question why Blade Runner's version of Tony Stark would have tons of missiles? What's next? You're going to make an Apple child slavery reference?
Cuts to live footage from the Apple manufacturing plant.
Oh.
Okay, look, I love Denis Villeneuve, and I don't mind movies that take their time, but this is a prime fucking example of a scene taking way too long to get to the point. Just get to the toy, man! Get to the fucking toy!
If you don't like watching movies, why do you have a channel that makes money watching movies? Oh.
Someone lived this, yes.
Wait, if Anna is Rachel's daughter and she lived the orphanage memory, then how did she get into such a highly secured position as the memory maker?
Your assumption is that Anna works for Wallace, except if you paid attention, you'd have heard her state this.
You work for Wallace.
Subcontract. I'm one of his suppliers. He offered to buy me out, but I take my freedom where I can find it.
Madam is calling you in. You're under arrest. Drop your gun and keep your hands where I can see them.
They sent one car to detain this badass super replicant that's virtually unkillable. This is definitely a government decision.
Where are you getting the idea that Kay is unkillable? In the first film, Deckard lucks his way into killing 4, okay, technically 3 replicants with relative ease. Sure, he's a Blade Runner, but that movie showed how inept Deckard really was. Hell, even Rachel did this.
Wake up. Time to die.
Also, why is he being arrested at all? As far as Joshi knows, Kay's been following leads that pertain to the case. If she just calls him in, it's a certainty he'd come.
Which makes the previous sin about them only sending one cop to arrest the badass unkillable replicant irrelevant, doesn't it?
You liked her, I could tell.
Joy picks the day that Kay's life is falling apart to enact her proxy horror plan. This is a nice gesture and all, but dude's got a lot on his mind right now.
I tend to think that a cyber pseudo threesome with 2 beautiful women would sort of make that day a little bit better.
Also, how did Joy contact Mariette without Kay knowing anyway? Isn't she always in his pocket?
Joy is kind of a computer, Jer. If she can light cigarettes without touching them, she can damn sure contact the replicant brothel.
Also, do androids dream of electric hookers?
Padding the sin count ex machina.
It may look like he's deep in thought right now, but Kay's just planning how to explain this threesome to all his cop buddies.
Even if this bullshit you just made up were true, why is this a sin for the movie? And you people wonder why I started this series.
They'll be coming after me soon.
But instead of getting a good head start, I decided to take a break to f*** my computer and a pleasure bot. Also made some coffee.
Yeah, but at this point, Kay isn't really running from the LAPD. He only wants to find out his true origins. If it wasn't clear by what he stated to Sapper earlier, listen to it again.
How does it feel? Killing your own kind.
I don't retire my own kind because we don't run.
Break the antenna.
Wait, so if Love's been following Kay's every move, wouldn't she know that he went to see Dr. Memory? Were they planning to follow up with her?
What would Love and Wallace gain from visiting Dr. Stelline? Kay only learned that she creates memories and that his memory was a real one. At this point, Kay still believes he's the replicant that was born. You're only asking this question because you're not paying attention.
Alright, damn it, this movie is gorgeous, and if I don't remove a sin for this scene alone, I couldn't live with myself.
I agree, but you send the scene of Kay flying over LA earlier, and that was a far more visually appealing scene than this one, so sin I shall.
Movie that was billed as co-starring Harrison Ford waits nearly 2 damn hours to Harrison Ford.
Agreed.
I dream of cheese.
Is he talking about Hollywood Homicide?
No.
Also, since it started happening so often, I'm going to create a Harrison Ford plays a character from earlier in his career cliche.
I would have created a new cliche for what you're doing here, but the Jeremy points out things that are happening on the screen cliche already exists.
Wait, Elvis and Marilyn Monroe existed in this universe? Is this supposed to be basically our timeline? Where did shit go sideways then?
Now that I've had a chance to think about it, 10 sins for not acknowledging how awesome this scene is.
You didn't even meet your own kid? Why?
Because that was the plan.
Okay, I'm willing to believe Deckard sees some of himself in Kay, and Kay's shown him that he wasn't interested in fighting. But this information is the most closely guarded secret ever, and he's just divulging all this shit because Kay asked him some questions.
And this is why you should have acknowledged the prior scene. It's exactly as Seraph stated.
You do not truly know someone until you fight them.
Man, this lady is evil. How does a replicant get such a fervent vindictive streak?
Normally, I would ask you if you'd watch Blade Runner 1, but I noticed that you sinned the original Blade Runner, so the answer to that question is obviously no.
God damn it. I realize that stupid movie villains are stupid enough to leave the hero alive, but Wallace people are supposed to be incredibly smart, so what the fucking movie?
I honestly don't know where you come up with these harebrained ideas. Where in the movie was it demonstrated that Wallace's goons are supposed to be incredibly smart? That never happened.
You imagined it was you. Oh, you did?
Yes, he did, because the movie told him to. Logic certainly had nothing to do with it.
Congratulations on not paying attention to anything this movie has been trying to tell you. Kay believed he was the child because of the litany of clues pointing him to being Rachel's child, like the date on the tree, the vivid memory of the orphanage, the wooden horse actually being real, Anna confirming that the memory was real, and so on.
There's a bit of every artist in their work.
Why the didn't she just tell him when he visited her?
Because this is Blade Runner. She would be retired if she told him the truth. Why is this even a real question?
And God remembered Rachel, heeded her, and opened her womb.
How convenient that there's a Bible verse that matches this very specific robot pregnancy situation.
Jeremy thinks this is a Bible verse, and that's extra sinful.
Don't you love me?
Her eyes were green.
You mean Wallace went to all this fucking trouble to perfectly recreate Rachel, but didn't get her eye color right? That's not like missing a freckle or something. It's a very obvious trait.
You're stating that eye color is a very obvious trait to a blind person. Also, Rachel's eyes weren't green. You're missing the point that Rick is lying in order to reject the clone of Rachel. Sean Young has brown eyes. Sultry brown eyes.
I'm sure it's a much more liberal society and all, but is everyone on the street right now really looking up a giant vagina?
How conservative of you, Jeremy.
Why the does the advertisement version of Joy have all black eyes? This looks demonic as hell.
So the all black eyes is what gets you? Not the blue hair or neon pink skin?
Dying for the right cause is the most human thing we can do.
Repeating intelligent-sounding dialogue as a memory just 16 minutes after we first heard it.
You've just been Korean dramaed.
Take us back!
And they hit the ocean. Jesus. She said, take us back. Not turn so hard you crash us into the ocean.
You are literally showing a scene of them not in the ocean as you're saying this.
Movie somehow manages to be interesting for a couple hours, then devolve into a broken down It's a Small World ride.
Not only is this not funny, it doesn't even make sense. You're probably trying to reference the submarine voyage at Disneyland, which is next to It's a Small World. But I could see how you got the two mixed up. They're only completely different.
Damn it, it is coming down to the ultra super replicants punching and kicking each other repeatedly. Movie, you're better than this.
Jeremy feigns ignorance cliche, and gives the movie two separate sins based on that feigned ignorance.
Villain pulls a knife during a fist fight cliche.
Jeremy points out things that are happening on the screen cliche.
Unkillable villain is killed by unkillable hero who basically had already been killed.
Unkillable?
You keep using the word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
Ding!